Rigging method number 3, and we're going to talk about a swing head, also called an articulated jig head. And this style jig head, if you look at it, it's a jig head and a hook, but the hook swings back and forth, left and right. So what a swing head does, an articulated jig head does, is it gives that creature bait more side-to-side movement. This happens to be, this is a VMC, IKE approved rugby swing head. And this is a little bit smaller size, it's a 3/8 ounce. And I've got it on the 4-inch Berkley CreatureBait. And when you rig this thing, you could look a ton of action that a fixed jig head wouldn't have, okay? So for this one, like the Carolina rig, I like to throw that swing head when I'm fishing places where I don't visibly see the cover. It's not like I'm throwing to a dock or a big boulder that I see. I'm making longer casts and I'm sort of dragging it along. A lot of times on the swing head, I use a combination of my reel and a rod drag to keep that bait moving along the bottom. And as it moves, that big bulky bait with all that action is going left and right, and they can't stand it. Method number 3 for rigging a creature bait is on a swing head or articulated jig head. Method number 4, this has been a sleeper for me for a lot of years. I don't like to talk about it, but this is in the shop, so I give away all my secrets, is rigging a creature bait on a shaky head, but a big shaky head. You know, so many times when you mention shaky head, you think of a little jig head with a little thin worm on a spinning rod. And that's great. That's a great way to rig it. But when those fish want a bigger bait rigged on a Magnum shaky head, you can't beat a creature bait rig this way. The jig head, it's one of my favorites. This is the IKE approved rugby jig head. And specifically, I like the bigger sizes when I'm fishing it on a full-size creature. Anything from a 5/16 all the way up to a 3/4 ounce sometimes. And the great thing about a creature bait rigged on a Magnum shaky head, just like on a regular shaky head, you ready? Here it goes. When it hits the bottom, nose down, tail up. Look at that. When I undo these legs and unleash that action, look at how it's going to sit on the bottom. Nose down, tail up. Look at it. Just sitting in my hand. Imagine that thing nose down, tail up. Looks a lot like a crawfish. Looks a lot like a big crawfish. Looks a lot like a big tilapia or a big bluegill. And it's perfect for fishing targets. So the swing head, open water. I don't really know what I'm throwing at, but rigged on a Magnum shaky head, throwing at a brush pile, throwing at a rock pile I have marked on my graph, throwing at a dock that I see with my eyes. A big package with a ton of action, nose down, tail up. I do a lot of shaking with my rod tip. Method number 4 for that creature bait, rigged on a shaky head. And last but not least, and I had to throw this in there because this is another one that people don't talk about. They keep it hidden. I want to let the cat out of the bag right here. And that is a creature bait rigged as a jig trailer. You know, fishing jigs, a skirted jig, so many times people assume the only 2 style trailers there are chunks or crawls. Well, you know what? There's a time when you want a bigger, bulkier profile and more action. And a lot of times, once again, that's when the water gets hot or your forage is bigger. A creature bait threaded on the back of a jig is a killer. And I've been using it for years. Look at that rigged on the back. This happens to be a 1/2 ounce Missile Jigs mini flip. But look at that 4-inch creature bait in green pumpkin rigged on the back. An amazing crawfish profile in the back, giving that jig extra length. Look at it. The mini flip's little, but when I put a creature bait on the back, I've got a small jig with a bigger profile trailer that makes it look bigger, makes it appear bigger in the water. It's going to slow the fall a bit, and most of all, look at all that action from those big kicker tails and legs. So on a jig, when the water's hot, when the fish are feeding on big forage, it can be phenomenal. So method number 5 to rig your creature bait is as a jig trailer. Listen to me, creature baits are kind of weird looking. They're kind of a hybrid bait, like a Frankenstein experiment, but they have a ton of action. They're bigger, they're bulkier, and the bottom line is creature baits catch big fish. Try one of these 5 rigging methods. I promise you, you're gonna catch a big one. Listen to me. If you like what you heard today, if you like the In the Shops, take a second real quick and subscribe to my channel. If you're already subscribed, do me a favor. Tell your fishing friends about the channel. Have them subscribe. We're gonna have new In the Shops headed your way every week. Mike Iaconelli out here in the shop. Good luck, good fishing. See you later.